Hi, everyone. So I just wanted to touch base about your discussion board that you did for us last week. Thank you so much for your participation in that. I really enjoyed reading the various methods that were used, and you guys did a nice job sharing your feedback with your peers and comparing how they did it compared to how you did it, similarities and differences, things like that. So thank you for your participation. What I wanted to say, though, is I couldn't help but notice a collection of people that were interpreting that their work was the same as a different classmates, when in fact, I wonder if it really was. So here's what I mean. Let me share my screen and I'll tell you what I saw, and it may or may not apply to you, but even still, I'm going to talk about some things that I think would be helpful for everybody. So if we think about what was happening with the two restaurants. So in McDonald's, they started with $37 million of revenue, or was it billion? Now I forget the units. It might have been billion. Okay, that part's not important. But either way, 37 million, and then it increased by, $0.558 million each year. And then for the In-N-Out Burger, on the other hand, they started with $0.6487 million in revenue, and that increased by 4.83%. So here's what I saw that I want to make sure we're on the same page about. So most people from McDonald's had no problem. They were like, oh, simple. I'm just going to take 37 million and add the 0.558 million and then write that down as my number for what it's going to have in revenue next year. And then when another year goes by, no problem, I'm just going to add another 0.558. And we can just keep adding, iteratively over and over for as many times as you needed to complete that table. Others wrote a linear function, which is wonderful as well. But you didn't have to, I don't care. As long as you figured out the table values, I'm good with it. But here is what I want to point out. A small collection of people for the In-N-Out burger situation said that they took the 0.6487 and added 0.0483 to get next year's revenue. And other classmates said, well, no, I did 0.6487 and I multiplied it by 0.0483. And then they took that number and added it back on 0.6487. And here's what I saw that, again, may or may not totally pertain to you, but it's worth mentioning. So first of all, if you try to add 0.0483 to this 0.6487, what exactly are you adding? Because think about it. In the McDonald's case, the 37 represented millions of dollars, and the 0.558 represented millions of dollars. So you're adding millions of dollars with millions of dollars to simply get more millions of dollars. But in the In-N-Out context, this number, the 6487, that's millions of dollars. Yes, it is. But what's the 0483? Is that millions of dollars? Is it true that In-N-Out increased by $0.04 million? No, it's not. 0.0483 is just the converted decimal for 4.8%. It doesn't have units. It is unitless. It is meaningless. So you can't add 0.0483 to $0.64 million and think that you're going to get a quantity of money. The units do not align. It does not make sense. Now, what made me nervous was some people said, comparing this answer, the 697, to the other answer of 68. Some people were like, oh, I did it differently than you, but we pretty much got the same answer. So I think we're both right. Yeah, on these ones, guys, let me just be honest. The decimals, they end up really mattering. And just because 0.68 is really close to 0.69 doesn't mean that you're probably both okay Unfortunately, one of them is right and the other one is wrong. So again, adding 0483 is incorrect because 0483 does not represent millions of dollars. What you have to think about instead is, okay, how do I figure out what 4.83% of a number is? And this was the part that I was just cutting you loose and leaving you to your own devices, hoping that you guys would have some prior knowledge on it. But if you're trying to figure out the percent of a number, you have to use it as a multiplier. So when you multiply 0483 by the 6487, see how this answer down here is 0.031? Okay, 031 represents millions of dollars. 4%, I'm going to round in my language for the sake of conversational ease. 4% of 0.65 million is about 0.03 million. That 03 number that's sitting on my Desmo screen right now, that is millions. And that's why it's perfectly okay to now add that back in to the millions of dollars that they were already making to figure out what they would make the next year. Now, also, what many of you pointed out is since they now make more money, In-N-Out Burger now makes more money, you have to recalculate what the new 4.8% is going to be of that new number. So if I use 0.68 as my value for this, I now need to figure out, well, what the heck is 4.83% of that number? Notice it's not 0.031 anymore, it's 0.032. In fact, it's almost 0.033. So since they're making more, the percentage amount is now also more. So in the first year, In-N-Out made an additional 0.031 million, and now in the next year, they're gonna make an additional 0.033-ish million more dollars. So then you can add that amount back into the pre-existing amount, and there's the next number. Now, again, there is a little bit of rounding error. Please don't mistake what I'm trying to say. Rounding error is going to exist, but if you look at my value, I have 0.7128 as my number. If you were to have done it the quote incorrect way now in hindsight, and if you just keep adding 0483, 0483, 0483, you'll notice that even by the very next year, the answers become very different. Right now I have 7128 on my screen. The other route, you get like 0.71 or 744, I think is what I saw. 0.744. I guess I could just figure that out really quick. So 0.6487 plus 0483, and then add another 0483. Yeah, so these numbers are already very far off. We're talking millions of dollars, so even a little bit of a decimal point, these answers are officially drifting away. And then it only gets worse and worse and worse as you progress down the table. So all I'm trying to say is that it's definitely incorrect, unfortunately, to have just added 0438 or 0483, sorry, 0483, 0483, 0483. You can't just add that on, it's a percentage. 0483 means nothing. It's not millions of dollars. You can't just add it. So you do have to use percentages as a multiplier. Now, what I appreciate is that a lot of people were like, gosh, this felt tedious. A lot of comments were like, yeah, I did it the same way. It didn't feel very efficient, but it works. And I agree. It works, but it's not that efficient. So in our next module, you're going to see a more efficient way of calculating percent growth. And that is, of course, going to introduce exponential functions. So little tidbit on percent change and some observations on the discussion board. Once again, thank you for your participation. And we are now going to piggyback off of that discussion board in this week's module. So thank you for watching. And I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.